Welcome back to Fireside Giants. My name is Alex with my co-host Anthony Rivardo, the greats. We are here to take fan mailbag questions regarding the absolute New York football Giants and their game coming up against the Philadelphia Eagles. What a game it's going to be. Giants are 2-7. They have a chance to, tie for first place in the NFC East, which is quite embarrassing at 2-7. But here we are. Patrick Graham, Joe Judge leading this team. And man, I got to say, Patrick Graham has impressed me, man, with everything he says and the accountability he takes, the discipline he has on his players, and the respect he commands. That's something I want to start off with before we dive into the questions. But Anthony, my friend, how are you doing on this beautiful Thursday afternoon?
I'm doing pretty good. It's not as beautiful down here in Florida. We almost got hit with a tropical storm, but we didn't. It missed us, so we're chilling, I'm chilling.
Oh. All right, you're chilling. Yeah, I mean, we're also getting hit with some rain here. If you live in New York, you would know. And I feel like most Giants fans either live in New York, New Jersey, or Florida. So we're all kind of experiencing this rainy weather the last couple days. But here we are. Giants play Eagles on Sunday, and this is in MetLife. So a little background information that you're not going to like. 2013 was the last time the Giants beat the Eagles away. The last time the Giants beat the Eagles at home, which was also the last time the Giants beat the Eagles, was 2016. November 6th of 2016. So here we are. We could
Odell
really
took
use a
that
win.
Slant route to the house. I remember that.
Yep, absolutely. And here we are. 4
game.
years later, we could really use a win. Really use a win. This would be
Yeah.
huge for us. But the Eagles got better, right? The Eagles got some guys back. They have Alshon Jeffrey coming back. They have Jalen Reagor, their first-round wide receiver, already back, who looked good last week. So it's not going to be as easy for the Giants this time. They really needed to get that first win earlier on. Now it's going to be a lot more of a struggle. But again, I think that it comes down to Daniel Jones. And the more I hear about him, the more I start to say things aren't looking so good for Daniel. And the reason I say that is because he's missing reads. He's not connected to the scheme the way he should be. And he's at fault for a lot of the reasons the Giants are not doing very well on offense. They're the second-rated offense. Second to last, my fault. Big miscommunication there. Second to last offense in terms of points allowed. Points for 18.7 points per game they're averaging. Very, very bad. The last team in the NFL, who else but the Jets, right? And I actually had this argument for you guys listening. And Anthony, I want to get your perspective on this. I had an argument with a friend who's a Jets fan, and he was really happy with how the Jets played against the Patriots, right? Really happy with how the Jets played against the Patriots. And I said, I don't agree with you. And why? Because the Jets played an awful Patriots team, right? The Patriots are 3-5 right now, which is better than they actually are. They beat some pretty terrible teams. The best team they beat was the Raiders, but they were also kind of floundering at that point. So I said to him, the Jets played embarrassing football, right? Joe Flacco actually had a decent game until the fourth quarter rolled around. But for the most part, the Jets were terrible. They looked bad. Their defense was bad. Their offense in the fourth quarter completely shut down. And it all happened against the Patriots, who have 8 guys that opted out. No Brady. Their defense is shredded. Their offensive line is shredded. No wide receivers, really. And they were trying to tell me that the Jets played up to the Patriots. And I'm like, you have to think of it in context. They have nobody. The Patriots suck. So the Jets losing to that Patriots team is embarrassing. They didn't totally agree with me, obviously. They thought they were way more optimistic. And I said, look, I'm a Giants fan. I know what sucking feels like right now. So I can tell you from an outside unbiased perspective, the Jets looked awful. And they lost to an awful team, which makes them look even worse. But they didn't want to hear it. So what do you guys think about that? Interesting point. Anthony, what do you think?
I don't think that they played up to the Patriots level. I think that they are equal with the Patriots, and they're both bad, and they just played an ugly football game and almost won. That was about it. That's really my perspective. Both of those teams are bad, and it's really strange to think, at the beginning of the season when the Patriots on prime time were dueling off with the Seahawks, and that was a very close game. They've really fallen hard since then. It's kind of interesting to see that. See how that's unfolded. Ever since Cam got that positive COVID test, he really just hasn't been the same, and he never had symptoms. So maybe it was just because he had that week off, and maybe it's been hard for him to get back into
He also has no weapons.
I mean, they have nothing. They're both just really bad football teams, both of those teams. And Joe Flacco, I'll give him some credit though. He threw a couple of dimes, serious dimes.
Yeah, but to who? He was throwing against. He did do a couple dimes. That one to Perriman in the corner of the end zone was phenomenal.
Yeah.
But they're the cornerback that was letting up all those big plays. I don't know, it was like Lamar Jackson.
Was that
I don't know
Lamar
exactly know
Jackson
who it was.
from Louisville?
What?
Probably was.
It
It
might
was
have
probably
been.
Lamar
It
Jackson
might
from
have been.
Louisville.
Either way, he got
I think he went
roasted.
undrafted. I think he went undrafted. So I think they're starting an undrafted
Yeah,
corner.
he got
And they're going to be starting
roasted.
Corey Ballantyne soon, too. They just picked
Also,
him
the
up off of the
Giants.
waivers.
Giants news: they brought in former Jets cornerback Quincy Wilson in for a visit. Interesting there. Also, Golden Tate had a little knee injury at the latter portion of practice. Not supposed to be too serious, so it was not. It wasn't a non-contact injury. I think he just kind of dead-legged it. He should be fine. We'll see how it progresses throughout the week, but for the most part, I think he should be fine after this week if he doesn't play. Nonetheless, I want to dive into our mailbag section of this fantastic episode of Fireside Giants. And the first one is from Joseph Michael. How happy are the Giants with the great kicking job Graham Gano has done so far this season? I mean, look, Graham Gano won the NL Player of the Week for special teams this week. So you can already tell how good he's been. He's missed one kick this year, one single kick, and it was from 50-plus yards. Against Dallas, he hit 3 field goals, 50-plus yards. The guy has been pretty much automatic. I call him Graham Golden Boot Gano at this point. 95% of his kicks made, 100% of extra points made. Yep. I mean, his field goal, his long is 55 this year. Like I said, the only one he missed was against Chicago, and it was 50-plus yards. He's hit on every single other one aside from that. So, and MetLife is a windy stadium. It's not easy to kick in MetLife. So I'm really impressed with him. He's a guy that I'm saying, if I'm the Giants, I'm locking him up for at least a couple seasons because having a good kicker in the NFL is the difference between winning and losing. And thinking about the Giants who lose these games, especially the last couple ones, by 1 to 3 points, that last kick could be the difference maker. You know, your offense just has to get there. So you keep a guy like that on your team. What do you think, Anthony?
Yeah, man. I mean, I've been really happy with Graham Gano. He's been the team MVP pretty much. You know, he's been the guy who, in a very inconsistent football team for the most part, he has been the one consistent player that when we need him to make a play or make a field goal, he does it. You know, he did have that one miss, and it did prove to be pretty costly against Chicago, but that's one play. He's 19 for 20 on his field goals. He hasn't missed a point after try. He's just been as consistent as can be. And, you know, that's a signing that was kind of surprising, like a little bit, because I thought that they would maybe try and get someone younger, and then they went with Graham Gano, who's an old veteran. He was coming off of a bad injury, so it was kind of like, we'll see how this goes. So far, it's been excellent, and you have to give some credit to Dave Gettleman and Thomas McGahee. They have some connections with Graham Gano from their time back in Carolina. So I got to give some credit to Gettleman on that one. And then, of course, we gave credit to Judge when the signing happened, and we will continue to give credit to Judge for anything that happens in special teams regard because he is such a special teams wizard. And the special teams really all together has been excellent this year. We did force a special teams turnover against Washington. With the
Cam Brown fumble recovery.
Madre Harper's, Cam Brown. Was it Cam Brown or Madre Harper who recovered it? I thought it was Harper.
I think it was Cam Brown.
Cool.
It could have been Harper. I'm not sure. You have to go look back at it, but I'm pretty sure it was Cam Brown.
Cool. I like Cam Brown. Hopefully, I get to see him on the field more on defense.
Yeah, no, that would be great. And, you know, I tweeted this out before, listing the Giants free agent signings this past offseason, and, like, it's, like, impressive, man. You have James Bradbury, who's one of the best corners in the league right now. Logan Ryan, who's playing absolute lights-out football, had that game-sealing interception last week. Blake Martinez, he's leading the NFL in tackles, one of the best linebackers out there. Graham Gano, one of the best kickers, if not the best kicker in the NFL right now. Kyler Fackrell has been very, very much a good contributor, especially supplementing the loss of Lorenzo Carter. Then you have Leonard Williams, who I threw in there because he's on the franchise tag. He's basically a free agent signing, who's been playing very, very good football as well. So those are the deals, though. And these deals are 1 to 3 years for the most part, right? So they're all very team-friendly. They can get out of them after the second season with very little dead cap. And those hitting on all those free agent signings is what you need to be a growing team. So I'm really, really happy with everything that we've seen from those free agent signings. But moving on to the next question from Bookworm. Why hasn't Gallman been given more opportunities previously? He has looked like a good back from day one, in my opinion. So I love the guy. And the reason I think that they take him out of plays is because he runs so hard that I think they're worried about wear and tear on him very easily because he runs so hard, so fast, and he's not a big guy, right? He's not like a big running back who can take those hits. Ezekiel Elliott, Derrick Henry take hits like that. He runs with that style, though. So I think they try to be a little bit more careful with him and ease him into play and let him kind of rotate with Alfred Morris or another running back to make sure that his body just doesn't take too much of a beating. So that way, when the fourth quarter comes around, they're trying to ice the clock, increase that time of possession. He's ready to go. He's ready to take those hits and kind of be that bruising running back. But I like what they've done with him. I really like him as a runner. I just don't think he has the body to run like that and also maintain his health.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if he's built necessarily to be a bell cow and every down back like that, but I am a big fan of Gallman, and I always would have been okay with Gallman as the starting running back had we not
Mm-hmm.
drafted Saquon Barkley. I would have been totally fine with that because I like the way he runs. And I think that he's solid, and I think what he is, he's perfect if you're doing a running back by committee approach, and we're seeing that, right? With him
Exactly.
and Alfred Morris, he's one
Mm-hmm.
of those perfect running back by committee running backs. And so I really do think like you could probably build a backfield around Wayne Gallman. I am one of those guys. Running backs don't really matter. I do kind of agree with that to a large extent. So if for whatever reason, down the road, Saquon comes back from the injury, doesn't look the same. He doesn't get that second contract with the Giants. I am totally fine with keeping Gallman and making him the starter because I think that he's good enough to be the starter, especially if you do the running back by committee approach.
Right. And, to take that even a step further, I would actually be okay with them drafting or signing like a big body guy, like Latavius Murray, for example, just to throw a name out there. Not Alfred Morris, because I think he's old and kind of washed up at this point. I think the offensive line has just been playing lights out in the run game.
That's
I would
true.
like them to get like a big back who can complement someone like Galman, keep him fresh, and pick up those short yardage chunk yards to get the first downs, red zone type of runs. I would like that. Like have the committee by approach, but I love the Brandon Jacobs, Ahmed Bradshaw style of running.
Yeah.
Right? You have a pass catching back who can also take those third downs, draw plays, but also at the same time have a bruising guy who can pick up 3, 4, 5 yards on first and second down and really shorten the field. That first down run is supposed to shorten the field. That's why I freaking hate it when they run Saquon Barkley up the middle in his inside zone schemes because he's not a power running back. He does not
Mm.
run downhill, right? He tries to get elusive and then he gets stopped in place or he ends up losing yards. That was my problem with how they used him. Obviously, offensive line plays a big factor in that, but I think that if you're going to use Saquon Barkley the right way, you take a big back, you run him on first down, pick up a couple yards, and then you start getting creative with Barkley, Alvin
Yeah.
Kamara-esque, Dalvin Cook-esque, and start to use him in space.
Yeah, I mean, what I think is that, this is a power running scheme for
Mm-hmm.
an outside zone running back, with Saquon Barkley. Like I just think it's not really I don't think that
It's
you
designed for
actually would
Ezekiel Elliott.
it's designed for Ezekiel Elliott, who goes downhill. He's north to south, and Barkley is very much east to west. So I don't think you necessarily need a different guy in there on first down. Like, you don't need another running back because, like I said, running backs don't matter. Don't invest more into the running back position. We've invested plenty. Okay.
That's
So
fair.
just change the scheme, build the scheme around your players. More pre snap motion, more pulling guards, get him out in space, because if
Mm-hmm.
you had Barkley, I saw actually they ran this play twice this past week. Actually, probably more than that, 2, 3 times, where they had both guards pull on the outside and lead block for the running backs. Alfred Morris took one of them, and it was only like a 2 yard gain. But then I think they ran it again, and Alfred Morris had like an 18 yard gain. And if you
Mm-hmm.
had Barkley on that play, that's like a home run waiting to happen. If you have
Oh
those two
yeah. Oh
guards and
yeah.
you're going outside, and you got Barkley on the outside, because Alfred Morris, he might get tackled in a situation where Barkley is just one man to beat, and he's got those elite blockers in front of him, and it's
Mm-hmm.
a home run, a touchdown. So that kind of stuff I want to see implemented in the scheme more when Barkley's back on the field.
Yeah. At the same time, I'll say this. I don't think Saquon is a patient runner, right? Alfred Morris, that run that he had when Kevin Seidler gets out in the lead block and seals that edge for him all the way on the opposite side of the field, I don't think Saquon waits that long. I think he tries to make a play happen and jolts inward. I think Alfred Morris is a smarter, more disciplined, and more experienced runner. He doesn't have the athleticism, not even close to what Saquon has. But I think Saquon needs to get more intelligent with the way he runs. Follow the scheme, follow the lead blocker. He a lot of times he chooses wrong holes, right? He'll see a hole and he'll burst through it and then it'll close up immediately. He makes a lot of bad decisions when running inside. And on those designed kind of like hesitation, you have to wait for that hole to open to run through, wait for that block to get there. He's a little antsy. Like, it looks like he doesn't want to wait for it. He wants to burst through the hole as soon as possible. I'd like to see him become more of a patient runner if they're going to utilize his outside zone scheme with these pulling guards and stuff, because I just don't feel like he's like riding his offensive lineman. He needs to sit back a little bit and then choose the right hole that's developing as the play is as the play is designed. I think that, again, it's hard to say because we haven't seen him in this system yet. So he could have absolutely been that runner. But based on what I've seen in the past, that's my impression of Barkley. But I think in this scheme, he needs some reps. He needs time. It's going to be a little bumpy next year, coming off the injury and everything. But I think midway through next season, he's going to be kicked into full gear, and he's going to look fantastic.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, I'll say real quickly though, when I did that film breakdown over the summer of Saquon Barkley, really his main personal weakness, the main weakness in his game last year was everything going on around him, the terrible offensive line play, the poor offensive scheme. But his personal main weakness was his vision. He isn't patient enough. He doesn't wait for those holes, and sometimes he'll have a hole right in front of him, and he'll just bounce outside and try and get this home run. And that's his biggest problem. He just doesn't see the field as well as he should.
Take the yards.
This is kind of like, I don't know, this is an assumption kind of. Maybe coming off of this injury, it might change his playing style a little bit. He won't try to be so explosive and jump out. And he probably won't miss as many holes now. I feel like he'll probably just become more patient, knowing that there's risk of injury if you bounce out like that.
Right. No, that's very, very good point. Anyway, moving on to the next question. Mike Vitta, over under 5 wins this season for the Giants. I'm gonna say 5 wins, probably even. Yeah, I'm gonna say even. I don't think.
What are we at? We're at 2. We're at 2. We got to play. We don't play Washington again.
We can beat the Bengals, and we can beat maybe the Browns. Maybe
Philadelphia. No, we're not beating the Browns.
Well,
Philly,
maybe we'll see. We have to beat Philly.
Yeah, honestly, 4 or 5. I'll go over. I'll go under.
Yeah,
I'll go even to under. Yeah.
I'm gonna
if
stick
we
with
get
that
6,
right
I think it would be a miracle. 6 would be a miracle because we play some tough teams down the stretch. I think
we'll keep it close.
Is a tough team.
We'll keep it close.
Seattle's a tough team. Baltimore's a tough team. Arizona's a tough team. We play a lot of tough teams, so we'll see.
It's a very, very. Yep, I agree. Anyway, next one, Joey Butler. Do you think the Giants should try Will Hernandez, Shane Lemieux, or Kevin Zeitler at center? Not a chance. Love Nick Gates so far. He's the one guy that you can say has developed since week 1. He's the one guy that's been there consistently taking steps forward, and I think he is the long-term future there. The coaching staffs think so. Mark Colombo thinks so. He's a guy that I'm very committed to keeping at center. Will Hernandez, Shane Lemieux, those 2 guys are my Kevin Zeitler fill-ins. Those are my Kevin Zeitler replacements. If they want to go that route, I think you keep Kevin Zeitler, but it looks like, from what I've heard, that they're going to begin phasing in Shane Lemieux and Will Hernandez at right guard to see if they can supplement Kevin Zeitler, because they theoretically they would like to get rid of him and save the money. I think you keep your best offensive lineman. If you have rookies plastered across the unit, you can afford to pay Zeitler, but it seems like they want to clear up that cap space to allocate it elsewhere, which might be wide receiver, pass rusher, could be a number of different positions. If they could pull it off, great. If they can't, they're going to be at a little bit of weakness on the right side, but I really, really, I think, you keep Nick Gates at center, hands down.
Yeah, I like the way that he's been developing. Week by week, he's been getting better and better. Actually, if you look at his grade chart on Pro Football Focus, you can see, because they put the charts with the premium stats, it's literally just rising upwards. So, my goodness, it's literally just trending upwards. I'm not used to this new setup, sorry. But yeah, he's trending upwards. He's getting better and better. And Will Hernandez, I definitely don't want to see there. Will Hernandez, I kind of just don't want to see on the field anymore. Shane Lemieux, maybe potentially I would want to see him at center at some point if Nick Gates were to start trending downwards.
I doubt it,
but that's really the only one. I think you keep Gates there. The only guy who competes with Gates is if you get a new guy in my opinion.
Yeah, agreed. And talking about Shane Lemieux a little bit more before we jump to the next question. A lot of people ask me, I projected that Lemieux will have a starting guard spot and Will Hernandez will not. People ask me, why? Where's Will Hernandez? Where did they go? Where'd he go? What's going on with him? And I said, I just think, Shane Lemieux was a rookie. If you can get him to start at left or right guard, wherever it might be, and Will Hernandez is heading toward a contract sooner rather than later, I'd rather and prefer to have Lemieux supplement him there and just really become the guard for the future, because then you reset that position. You reset that position and you actually devalue Will Hernandez to a point where you actually might be able to keep him as cheap depth. That actually would be ideal if you could devalue him and then keep him as cheap depth. It's pretty messed up, but it's a business, man. NFL's a business.
Yeah.
You do what's best for your team. They don't give a crap about the players, really. That's monetarily, I'm saying. So like that's kind of what my perspective is. You devalue Will Hernandez, put Shane Lemieux there, and then hope for his development, and then just keep Will Hernandez on the back burner and supplement him. You have to have good depth on the offensive line. That's a necessity. That's why they have Matt Parrott training at both left and right tackle, and that's why they could elect to keep Cam Brown around for the future on cheap deals, just as a swing tackle. Yeah, sorry, Cam Fleming. So that's how I feel about Shane Lemieux. Do you have anything to add to that?
I'm a big fan of Shane Lemieux, man. I just think, he needs more reps and he needs to continue to learn and develop and just get better. And he will, the more they get him on the field. I do think they should start rotating him in at both left and right guard. Like they do with Matt Parrott. They rotate him in at left tackle, right tackle. They take snaps away from their number 4 overall pick left tackle just to get Matt Parrott on the field sometimes. They can take some snaps away from 30-year-old Kevin Zeitler to get their rookie on the field. So I'm definitely down to see more Shane Lemieux.
That's fair. And Jason Garrett said they don't even have an established starting offensive line. They're just rotating guys in right now. It's working pretty well. It also keeps defenses honest, because when you have good players who are rotating in, they have to adjust to the weaknesses that they've game planned around. So they might not be like ready for that, and that there might be attacking weaknesses that Matt Parrott might not have compared to Andrew Thomas. So interesting development there, just something to think about. On to the next question by Curtis J112. If you only get to keep one, Leonard Williams or Dalvin Tomlinson, who would you rather bring back? This is a very good question. This is actually one of my favorite ones. I hate it, but it's a very good question, and I'm going to go with Dalvin Tomlinson.
It is a good question.
I'm going to go with Dalvin for 2 reasons. 1, he's an elite run stopper, and 2, he's going to be much cheaper than Leonard Williams. That's how I feel about it. The thing with Leonard Williams is he doesn't only offer good run stopping ability, he offers good pass rush ability. So that's where you are like, I don't know. But I think that they expect Dexter Lawrence to take a big step forward in 2021, be that pass rusher, be that run stopper. Then you have a guy like BJ Hill. You could always draft someone. Drafting defensive tackles is not that difficult in the NFL. Every team does it, and they plug and play these guys over and over and over again. They're not going to replace Leonard Williams by any means. But I think I would just stick with Dalvin Tomlinson based on how underrated he really is and how good he is. And he actually picks up a couple sacks too. So if they do this, the only way that I actually agree with picking one of them instead of retaining both of them is if you pick Dalvin Tomlinson or Leonard Williams, specifically Tomlinson in my perspective, and then you go out and sign a pass rusher who's close to great, maybe like Bud Dupree.
Yeah, I think this is a really tough question, a really good question by Curtis. Also, Curtis, I like your bio on Twitter. I like The Weeknd as well. He's pretty good. Leonard Williams or Dalvin Tomlinson. Tomlinson will come cheaper, but he will not rush the passer as well. Ideally, you want to keep both of them, but if you have to keep one, I don't know, man. I feel like you have to go Leonard Williams. It's going to be expensive, but you're getting the better player, and I think you'd be selling yourself short to leave talent on the table like that. Because I don't know, for a while, I think we actually went over this scenario a few months ago on the podcast. We were talking about it like a month ago or something. And I said I'd go Dalvin Tomlinson. But Leonard Williams has been really good this year. And I'm just thinking about like what this defense would be without him. And there would not really be much pass rush, He's actually been a very active pass rusher this year. Dalvin Tomlinson hasn't been. That's not his role. That's fine. He's an excellent run defender. But Leonard Williams has actually been a great pass rusher, and I'm really excited by his development. And he is also a good run defender. So I do think you are getting you're probably not getting what you're paying for, but you're getting close to it. And I think he's probably you just got to go with a better player in that scenario, and that's what Leonard Williams is.
That's reasonable, and that's why I said if you go Tomlinson, you have to sign a better pass rusher. You have to complement Tomlinson with a good outside linebacker. That's the only way. But the thing is, what I will say is that Patrick Graham doesn't really need a great pass rusher to scheme pressure. When Xavier McKinney comes back, we're going to see this defense take a step forward, which is why I think you might be right. They could go Leonard Williams because he has been phenomenal. And another year in this scheme, after a full season in this scheme, he's going to come back next year and he's going to be a monster. And and him and Patrick Graham are working together very, very well. You keep that, I guess you keep that chemistry. Either way, I'm pretty happy with any direction they go. If they can manage to keep both and still not kill their cap space, that would be the ideal situation. But we'll see how that goes. On to the next question. Godzilla Kong, classic name. Does Daniel
God.
Jones need to win games more than the Giants do? Yes. I actually think they go hand in hand. I think the Giants only win games if Daniel Jones plays well, right? So it really is a testament to, which I guess answers the question. I guess I answer the question. Daniel Jones needs to win games more than the Giants do because it represents the turning of the next chapter, I think, for him.
I'll say though, his best performances have come in losses this season, so that's kind of interesting when you think about it. Like I think of Pittsburgh in Week 1 was a loss, and I thought he played really well then. I think the Philly game, they should have won that, but he played really well there. And I don't know, he's played well against both Washington, matchups, but I feel like the two games that stand out to me for his best games of the season are Week 1 and then Week 7, I think it was, against Philadelphia. So I don't know, but does he need to win more than the Giants do? Maybe he doesn't even need to win, but he just needs to stop turning the ball over. He just needs to start playing better so that people can evaluate him and actually think this is a solid starting quarterback, and not have guys like Matt Miller saying he's the worst starting quarterback in the NFL. That was a talking point this week. And honestly, you roll your eyes. I kind of rolled my eyes at first too, and then I started thinking about it.
You think about it.
I don't think he's the worst starting quarterback.
He's far off. He's not far off from it.
There's not that many that I would take, or that I would take him over. So I don't know. That's tough. I do think, more importantly, he just needs to personally play better. No turnovers. If he didn't commit,
I think
if he had like 3 turnovers between now and the end of the season, that would be huge for him. So. I think that's the main thing. Stop turning the ball over. And winning, of course, would look good for him, too, and would make us Giants fans a lot happier, too.
Yeah. A lot of his minor mistakes get lost, though, because of how much people focus on the turnovers. Specifically, you look at the fumbles, the interceptions, it kind of glosses over the missed reads, the bad decisions, not throwing the ball away, not taking sacks. Like, these are the minor things that add up every single week. And the Giants and Joe Judge are not going to say that we're moving on from Jones. They're never going to say it. They're going to always have his back. So we have no idea what they're actually thinking in terms of what are we going to spend our top 5 most likely pick on, Like what are we going to do there? So I don't think that they've given up on him. And I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that Daniel Jones has a lot of issues, and they're not going away. They're not going away. Last week was good, but it wasn't that good. He didn't play like the best game in the world. He didn't blow out a questionable Washington team, having 5 turnovers and only winning by 3 points. The offense has to play better, and Jason Garrett has schemed good games the past couple weeks. Daniel Jones just needs to get them downfield and hit on these deep balls. He only got one of those. I think he had 2 plays that were past 20 yards. That one to Austin Mack. And what we mentioned in the Austin Mack breakdown video, by the way, what we saw from Jones compared to that Tampa game where he missed like a ton of reads and ton of deep balls, he was stepping up into the pocket and leaning into his throws. He wasn't leaning backward. His schematics and his mechanical technique were all so off and bad against Tampa. I just don't think he's mentally there, and he's supposed to be a better IQ quarterback than he's been playing.
Yeah, I don't know. That was really weird how his technique, his fundamentals just got really or all over the place against Tampa Bay, but they seemed fixed this past week. I really haven't seen that many mechanical issues with him in the past, so that's why it was really just like bizarre to see that happen against Tampa Bay. Like I've seen them happen here and there, but I haven't seen it like throughout an entire game before, and that's what it was against Tampa Bay. It was really strange, but it is good to see him bounce back with a solid performance where his technique and his fundamentals are better. And he was clean and didn't turn the ball over as well. That was obviously huge last week. So if he can do that again against Philadelphia, he played well against Philadelphia last time. So as long as he doesn't turn the ball over, I'm pretty confident that, we could win this. I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself, but they got a good shot on Sunday.
Absolutely. Now let's go lightning round, because I know Anthony has to go get the PS5 or really
trying
just
to get this PlayStation
get
5.
blown out on Walmart, really. So we'll do lightning round questions from Sam Wagner. Does Tay Crowder have the ability to be a long-term starter, or will we replace him in the draft? I think that Tay Crowder has the ability. I just don't think his ceiling is high enough to be a starting everyday linebacker in the NFL. I think he'll be a fantastic depth piece, and he'll be a rotational guy who can go in and play maybe on third downs and be a little bit better of a coverage linebacker. He didn't grade out very well. He hasn't had much of a sample size. I think he's a great depth piece, but I don't think he's going to be a starter in the NFL.
Yeah, I look at him as a solid depth piece, to be honest. I don't see him going much further than that.
Yep. So that hopefully that answers your question, Sam. I think that they would love him to be more, but I just don't think he has that ceiling. Either way, you need to have good depth. Good teams have good depth.
Yeah.
That's how it is. On to Zach, the actual Zach. Do you think Thomas and Pear are the future at tackle? And if so,
Yes.
who do you think the Giants get taken in round 1 by the Blue?
They are the future
go
at
ahead.
tackle. I have been very confident in that since before the draft. I said before the draft that Matt Parrott will be a starting tackle in this league.
Yep.
I was
Nailed
a
it.
huge fan of him pre-draft. When they drafted him at number 99, I was more excited than when they drafted McKinney or Andrew Thomas. I was really through the roof, so happy about the Matt Parrott selection. That it was a phenomenal pick, and I do think that he will be a starter on this line long term. And I think Andrew Thomas has struggled early on in his career, but he'll turn it around and he will also be a starter as well. I believe in that
Agreed.
fully. And
Agreed.
here's the thing though, if we're picking high enough and Penny Sewell is on the board, I would still take him. You can kick either him or Andrew Thomas into guard, one of those two. I'm not sure about Matt Parrott at guard. His arms
you're
are
locked
really
up for a
long. I think he's better
long time.
outside. Yeah, you get 3 starters on the offensive line for a long time. Sewell can definitely go inside. And then Andrew Thomas, I think, could as well. So I'm not going to, just because we have the future at tackles, in my opinion, I'm not going to say no to Penny Sewell, generational talent on the offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, if you jack Penny Sewell, and I don't think it's out of the question, even if they are, like you said, he generational talent. You kick him out to left tackle, and you say, Andrew Thomas, sorry, bud, but you're going to left guard or right guard, wherever they feel he could play best. And Matt Parrott, I love him at right tackle. I think he has the arms, the length, and he's performed so well in the run game. He stays there. I don't think his arms are as compact. I think Andrew Thomas actually is a better fit at guard than Parrott is. So Penei Sewell, definitely not out of the question. But then again, I love Jamar Chase. So there's another argument you can make. And then a quarterback, because Daniel Jones might not be the guy.
Correct. And Micah Parsons could be that other
Micah
linebacker
Parsons.
that we were talking about with Sam's question. So
Exactly right. So next question, Airborne Cheeseburger. Love the name. Always see you on the live stream. Big shout out to Airborne
that's our
Cheeseburger.
guy.
Would you be
He just
happy
made
if
that
we made
Twitter
the playoffs
account,
at
too.
6 and 10? What do you say?
He just made that Twitter account too, I remember. Just
Yeah,
followed us recently.
fantastic Twitter.
Yeah, love Airborne Cheeseburger. That's our guy. I will always be happy to see the Giants playing a playoff game. I don't care what our record is, and I don't care, I'll be upset after the game if we lose, and then I'll be like, man, we shouldn't have even made a draft pick, whatever, and then I'll cry about it. But I will never be upset to watch us play in the playoffs. That is really what you play the sport for, is to see your team go to the playoffs and hopefully win a championship. So, I'm happy if we make the playoffs. Once we get there, you never know what can happen. We saw that twice with Super Bowl 42 and 46. We were not supposed to even make the playoffs, and we won the Super Bowl both of those years.
Yeah, and you, like I keep saying every podcast, you don't know what confidence can do for a team making the playoffs, even if it's at 6 and 10. You turn the page. You're like, we're a playoff team now, even though we're 6 and 10. The NFC sucks. I bet you the NFC is going to be pretty bad next year too. They won't be great. They might be middle of the road. They have some teams coming up, and the Eagles will be healthy. Washington will be a little bit better. Dallas is rebuilding. It looks like they might be in the shitter, but for the most part, I actually think that being a winning playoff team, I think that being a winning playoff team actually goes a lot further than having a really good draft pick, unless Daniel Jones plays like crap and the defense gets him into the playoffs. That's the only way that I'm like, I might not want to be there, because then you have a problem there. To the
that
next
was
question.
The problem in 2016, really, is that the defense got us to the playoffs, and everybody overlooked the fact that Eli really just wasn't playing as well as he had been in the past. He had a lot of turnover-worthy plays, and he really just didn't look the same in 2016, and that really shined through in 2017. So,
right, you're right. And there was the big free agent signings: Damon Snacks Harrison, Janoris Jenkins, Olivier Vernon. Those guys really carried that defense, really got them there.
And then Collins was amazing that year too.
And then Collins is right. Mosey Madelon, who do you expect them to cut next year, and how much available cap will they have after that? That's a very detailed question. What I will say.
Tate. I'll say Golden Tate.
Golden Tate will be gone. Nate Solder will be gone after June 1st. So they'll save $10.5 million there. Golden Tate will be gone. That's another, I think, $6 million. So you have like $16 million. Kyler Fackrell they'll probably let go. That's another about $4.6 million. And they don't have that many big names. Maybe Zeitler goes. I'm not sure of his dead cap, if you could look it up. But they might walk away. And then you have the cap hit, which is going to lower about $20 million. So you're looking at a team that might be in the realm of having like $20 to $30 million to spend, which is not enough. It's just simply not enough to do what you want to do. So
why you got to
that
draft well.
pick, you got to draft well, and I think next year is if there's any year, next year is the year you got to move back and acquire more picks, because you can take a second round pick like Xavier McKinney and plug them into your team immediately. That's what I see. They supplement the loss of draft capital with a draft pick. So rather supplement the loss of cap space with a draft pick. So we'll see how that goes there.
Yeah, Zeitler's dead cap in 2021 is $2.5 million, which is really cheap. So they would save $12 million if they cut him.
Right, and then the final question: T.A. Campbell, will Gman finally draft a linebacker Parsons in the first round? As we know, Giants haven't drafted a linebacker since Antonio Pierce.
No, they didn't draft him. They signed him. They drafted a linebacker in the first round in the 80s. I think it was Carl Banks or Harry Carson, one of those.
Okay,
two.
right,
It's been like 30 years.
I don't think they draft Micah Parsons, just because they have bigger needs right now. They might have a need at quarterback. Yet to be seen. Penei Sewell, generational talent. You might got to go that way. You might go Jamar Chase and just take one of the best wide receiver prospects in a long time, you know? So there's a lot of different directions they can go here, but I think they probably pass on Parsons.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance they take Parsons. That defensive playmaker is something that I think Patrick Graham would really benefit from. You put him next to Blake Martinez, I think those two would be phenomenal, because I think that, you know, Blake Martinez is a great run defender, but Michael Parsons can do it all, and he's your pass coverage guy. So I think there's a good chance that they take him. But I do also think this is one of those years we're going to talk about trading down a lot again, and I think there's a good chance they do it. Joe Judge really wanted to last year, but they just didn't get the offer that they wanted, so that's fine. So I don't know. I'm a big Michael Parsons fan. I think that he would be excellent for them, and I think that I'm holding out hope that this is the year that they grab that linebacker in the first round, but we'll see.
Definitely. Well, guys, that's it for our fan mailbag questions today. Appreciate it. A lot of draft questions. I'm sure we'll get tons more of those. So thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you guys next time on Sunday for the pregame show against the Eagles. We'll preview that and give you guys some good information. But we'll catch you guys next time, and have a good night.
TVSO.